Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, back after a couple weeks, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Weekly, you can check us out at allaccessmma.com. Check out allaccessmma.com for our video podcast and MMA news and stories. Ed, held down the fort a couple weeks ago. Last week, the beautiful state of California shut down the power on me
Yeah, I put
right
a tweet
before the
out there.
show.
Yeah, I know it was literally like 5 minutes before we are going to start recording. I'm
So,
glad you made it out of there. I know you're still hot as balls, but at least you got power and some sort of AC.
yeah, I'm surviving. That's what's
How
all about these days.
how about the mascot?
Mascot's passed out on the ground
All
after a
right.
long day of daycare. So, um, yeah, no, good to be back.
Did you get to
Back
watch
in,
one on Amazon Prime?
I did, I did.
I liked it.
Enjoyed it. I watched it when I was in out of town. Didn't see the whole card. I caught the last, I think, three fights. Nice Muay Thai knockout.
Yeah,
And then Mighty Mouse. I mean,
yeah.
you know, I've been a critic of Mighty Mouse. I know that sounds crazy, and everybody, he's on most people's big pound for pound list. He was on the generation of 125ers I wasn't real fond of, probably mainly
Uh,
because of his domination.
yeah.
Um, I don't think he beats that guy in a trilogy. If I'm being honest, I think Marias takes the trilogy, and I thought he was actually winning this fight up until maybe it was starting to swing. It
Mm.
certainly started to swing maybe the round prior, but that doesn't. But he's also huge. He's more of a bantamweight
Yeah.
than a
That's why it's such
flyweight.
a
So,
big win to me. I mean, and
oh, it was
his
huge. The
his
finish, everything.
strategy was something out of Justin Gaethje's book, whereas he kind of like takes some damage to give some damage. I mean, but he kind of had to. But I like what they're doing. Folks know we have an Amazon Prime affiliate link on all our stuff. So if you haven't signed up for Prime and want to watch the next card, which is September 30th, make sure you click on the links. It'll be all over Spotify and YouTube and everything. If you want to check out the next card, if you're new to one, definitely want to get down with it because we like what they're putting. We're picking up what they're putting down.
And if we're giving Gagey credit for the "let him hit me" strategy, that was actually Kevin Rozier UFC won
Well,
after his
yeah, 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 yeah,
win. His strategy. They asked him his strategy, and he said his strategy was to let him punch out hitting me. So
yeah.
then Emmanuel Yarborough from UFC 3, his strategy also was let him hit me. Ended up not working great for those guys in the
Yeah,
long run, but
doesn't always work. Sometimes it's all the only option you have.
yeah, but yeah, masterful performance by Mighty Mouse pulling it out. Obviously, like I said, he was getting beat a little early on, but I like what they're doing. I see they got your boy DeRitter headlining
October, yeah, in
the next
October,
Prime card. So
the third one, yeah.
you know, we have no idea. We'll have no idea ever what their ratings are most likely, but I don't care if five people are watching as long as I'm one of them and they keep putting them
You
on
know they
TVs.
have a very responsive PR team. I should just ask them. I'm sure they would try to tell me something. I mean, I know Chatri likes to put out social numbers all the time, but
He's
that's
11
that's
billion views, dude. I can already predict it.
but I mean, they have the people. There's quite a few of them, but they don't take a long time to respond when there's questions asked or if you want like content and images and stuff. So let me write that down so I don't forget. Ask about Prime ratings. Um, the other thing that happened the week, I think it was the week you lost power, that I really feel like folks need your take on because you're the BKFC flag bearer of the podcast. Triller completed their acquisition of BKFC. Yay or nay? Does that hurt or help
Um, I'm
the
not a big
brand?
fan of anybody buying anybody because historically that just means that companies I like disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, but if we're being blunt about it, but you know, I like BKFC what they're doing. I think they're putting on better fights. I think that they have better roster now than they've ever had. I think the quality of fights roster, like I just said, I think the quality of the events I think is on the up and up. This will be four after this weekend. They have BKFC 28, headlined by Britton Hart,
Mm-hmm.
Britton Beltron actually. As they create an inaugural title, she fights Carissa Sigala, who's another tough woman that I saw fight out in Wichita. Um, I think that if I'm being blunt, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Triller. Triller's like a
Mm.
mystery to me, kind of like I understand that they put on events, and sometimes they're putting on events, but like the Trigon event or whatever that was, the one the whatever we had
Triad
where they
combat,
had
yeah.
yeah, Triad, where they had Metallica playing and all that. There was a big scheduled list of events that was supposed to happen, and those all
Then
disappeared.
yeah, I heard
I know
some of
that,
the guys didn't get paid. There's some fighters that didn't get paid still, and it's just very, very, very fishy business with Triller. But um,
but they
we'll
have money
see.
apparently. So whether they've paid their fighters or not, that'll be that'll be probably the tipping point on whether they actually end up
Yeah,
surviving. But
yeah, because
you
that's
know,
definitely sunk
I
another
don't know.
bare knuckle thing.
Like I said, I'm not a big fan. It's actually BKFC 29 this weekend, not 28 for anybody uh, big on the numbers of events. But I I I'm going to trust what they're doing right now because I do think they're getting better, and I do think they have to be bigger players in the world of combat sports now with the UFC and one all of a sudden a face now, and
Hmm.
then you got Bellator who's got a fairly big event coming up, which should get some eyeballs in about a month. Um, you know, well, it's wait and see for me. I got to see what this whole Triller thing is about still, and then what how much they try to do. Right now, I don't see a big difference in the events from the last year or so when they got involved,
Mm.
other than maybe a little bit more events. So maybe they took the Triad Combat thing and pushed some of that money towards BKFC. Um, they're signing guys. Josh Dodson just fought recently, um, and I mean, he looked outstanding. Got in a first
Hmm.
round knockout. Looked lightning quick. I mean, you're going to get the retreads, the guys that are kind of done with their MMA career. I think that's the natural progression at this point of these guys that want to test some other kind of skill level. I think the real question will be when you can start signing the guys that choose you over the UFC as opposed to maybe
Mm.
choosing you over Bellator or choosing you over,
Mm.
a boxing event or something like that. So if they start signing the guys in their mid 20s who are kind of prime fighters, that's really what it's going to be.
Hmm.
I think you just got to start shelling out cash, and
Yeah.
and and
Well.
even the UFC had to go in the red for years in the early days to get to where they were, and that's how they took out Pride. You
Hmm.
basically, you know, you do it until you don't matter how negative you are, and then all of a sudden you pull out. But you know, I'm just gonna have to kind of wait and see what happens. But I'm a fan of BKFC. I think this
Mm.
weekend's got a good event. Joe Diesel Riggs in the co-main event. He's never had a boring fight, so I like what they're doing. But
Mm.
the real highlight of this weekend, that's the appetizer. But we do get a UFC pay-per-view. Although one of the weaker cards um, in pay-per-view history, I want to say. I know they had some late additions, which added some to it, but you know, uh, I hate to come off negative, but I'm not huge about the main event on this card, and just honestly the fight
Mm.
card in general. But it is a pay-per-view. It is Nate Diaz, which is awesome, and it's Chimaev, two
Mm.
guys who I like to watch fight, but not really all that interested in watching them fight each other. So we're gonna have to kind of see how that unfolds.
Yeah. It's I mean, I guess we should just might as well start off with that fight, right? I mean, you want to work our way
No,
from the
let's go
main
from the
event?
bottom. Let's go to the bottom and work our way up because there's some action.
Yeah.
Opening bout of the night, light heavyweight bout. Ian Cutelaba, Johnny Walker. Two guys who are going to go out there and probably not get to the 15-minute mark. Two guys who have been knocked out. Two guys who kind of had their hype trains derailed a little bit,
Hmm.
I would say. But a exciting fight. Would have been a perfect headliner for the prelims in a perfect world. Um,
Hmm.
who do you pick here? I mean, you got two guys who are basically just going to swing for the fence. Uh, I'm going to go with Kuntalaba. I think he's got a little bit better chin. I
Mm.
know he had the Ankilev trilogy, or they ended up fighting twice, but they had it booked 3 or 4 times, I think. Um, Johnny Walker just doesn't seem to really be able to take much of a punch, and in
Yeah.
general. So
Ever since he hurt himself when he celebrated when he was on his rise, I feel like that time off, and then he came back after that, which was a really dumb way to hurt himself.
yeah,
But it just seems like ever since that, he didn't go where we all thought we was going to go. So, you know what? I mean, this is the one that before we started recording, this was the fight that I said I didn't get to really finish doing my homework on. But I think I'm just going to side with you here and pick Kutalaba. I mean, They only give you the odds for. Oh, do they give you the? Yeah, they do give you the win by odds. This is on UFC.com, folks, on the event page. Oh, they don't. They really don't. They have it there, but it's not on there. Oh, by Kate. So they have this is like voting, I guess. People that think who wins by what. Um, I mean,
So
it
it's
looks.
fairly even if you
Yeah,
add up the numbers, really.
yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Um, well, there you go. They got some odds up there, right? Is that the next? That's the next fight.
Just
Oh,
yeah.
there you
This
go.
this is their odds. They have Walker
Kudalaba's
out.
at a 2-1 favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walker at a 1.5 or so underdog. Yeah, I mean, I think those are good odds. And
So
I
I
think,
guess we'll say we're both going with Kutalaba by what knockout, right?
yeah, I'm going
Is
by
he?
knockout. Yeah, TKO.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody goes out cold, but yeah. I mean, it depends
KO.
who's reffing, I
I just got
suppose.
to write it down so I could put my picks in the newsletter. All right. The ladies. This one I did get to do my homework on. So
Macy Chiasson versus Aldana. Um,
Mexico.
Mexico covered her when she covered her when she had some fights in Invicta out in Las Vegas. Actually, been a fan of hers for a while. I'm going to pick her to win. I
Mm.
don't know if it's a great matchup for her. She potentially could get wrestled down, but when you look at who they fought, who they beat, um, it what the heck? I'm trying to
You're
have
actually, I mean, not for
technical.
nothing. It's kind of what I wrote in my notes here. When you look at the quality of opponents for the list of the quality of opponents from both of them, I think Aldana has definitely has fought the tougher
Yeah, they both
opponents.
got losses to Pennington, but Aldana was on a nice roll. Went over Mello, huge knockout over Caitlin Vieira, and then they put her in that main event against Holly Holm, and she got Holly Holmed, to a
Mm-hmm.
decision. Um,
Holly Holmes, yeah.
you know, and then she came back with a first round TKO over Kuniskaya, uh, which is a nice win. So yeah, I mean, I think but stylistically, Chasen's a strong woman. So if she's able to get the fight down to the ground, I think if it stays on the feet, I think Aldana picks her apart. Um,
Mm.
it's a woman's fight. No offense, but I'm not going to take a finish then. So I will take Aldana by a decision, maybe 2 rounds to 1. Maybe she gets taken down somewhere in the middle of the fight, and then rebounds and keeps it on the feet later in the third round and picks up another round. So that's what I'm going to go with. I have no idea what the odds say. Looks
They
like
have she's minus 175. Aldana the favorite.
there you go. So another close fight for the first two bouts. Basically 1.5 favorites to 1.5 underdog, which is essentially a coin flip. So, um,
Yeah, I don't know where these stats on the UFC website come from as far as like this percent. I guess it's their past wins, and so she's got more wins by knockout, which is what I saw in my homework too. So I'm with you. I'm picking her Aldana to win, but I actually think she can finish her. And
number
this,
4 versus 10. So yeah, an Aldana win puts her right in the driver's seat too at
hmm
135 because there's kind of a little bit of there's a lag there. There's Juliana Pena and in the champ Nunez, but there's really not any names that are. If she does get a finish win, I think she gets the next title shot. If
hmm
she wins a boring fight, I think they might force her into another bout. But and maybe Nunes does something else up at 145, or even a Pena trilogy at that point to kill the time. But a big finish by Aldana, I think the UFC probably on a pay per view event they
yeah,
probably give her the title fight in the near future.
for sure.
One of the
And
late
this,
added fights, a catchweight bout.
yeah, and I don't know how to. Let me look at the odds of this. They still have Kevin Holland as a favorite, which is where I'm leaning with my pick too, because he seems to always surprise me when I think something else of him. So I'm not going to pick against him this time. I got him picked to win.
Yeah, Daniel Rodriguez, Kevin Holland catchweight bout. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to go with Rodriguez. So this will change up
Mm.
our picks right here. Um, I just think that Holland's a little bit out of control. Actually, I know he's out of control. It's not even a little bit. He's a lot out of control, and I know it. So I just he had a battle with Cowboy Oliveira,
hmm
which for a second it wasn't looking great. He had the finish of Tim Means, which is a
mm.
nice win.
Oh well, here
Following that up.
before you commit to that, Kevin Nicholson. I thought he follows the podcast, follows us on Twitter. And he does a lot of like physical therapy tweets and observation. I think he does a newsletter too, and he's given us some stats here that Daniel Rodriguez is coming off a second two hand surgeries for the same tendon injury, so that might affect his output. Um,
Yeah, that's some
Amongst them.
Yeah, that's nice right there. Yeah, I don't know. Then that I mean, what are the odds saying? Where I don't know how accurate our odds are either. So don't take this to the
I
bank.
mean, they're as of today. Odds always change right up until night of, but yeah, and we're recording on Wednesday, so they have him as a plus 165 underdog.
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
no, the hand injury thing is definitely an issue.
Do you need me to bring it back up on the screen
No,
or
I'm reading it on the comments. I'm just trying.
okay?
So if Kevin, if you're listening, has he had two hand surgeries since his last fight, or has he had two hand surgeries um, in his career? I guess would be my question. Because if it's coming off of his last fight, then yeah, that changes things. Because
Mm.
you could have a one-handed fighter in there not knowing how it's going to react when
And
the
for the
violence
audio
starts.
listeners, this is coming off of the live stream Kevin Nicholson's posting on the YouTube channel. But while we wait for him to answer, we can move forward. Um, I told you I
Two,
got I
there it is. Two since the last fight. That changes things. Then I will I'll go with Holland. Then I had kind of a coin flip before, but
mm,
when you have somebody who's had that going on, I wouldn't put money on anybody or bet on anybody coming off of two surgeries in a row because that the first one didn't correct it.
mm.
There's something bad going on in there.
So it looks like we're so far we're all on this. So we're on the same page with our picks. Co-main event with Li Jingliang and Tony Ferguson. This was a rough one for me to make notes on. I'll let you go first before I get into.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Leech.
Mm-hmm,
Ferguson's been a fun guy to watch for a long, long time. I just think that his I just it's the Gagey fight, man. We talked about it going into the week of that fight
yeah.
that you guys like that, fights like that can change a person. You know, it changes who they are, it changes how they can fight, changes what they're capable of, and I I I just I think that the Leech has been more active.
Mm-hmm,
Um, he hasn't won all of his fights, but he just kind of got dominated by Chimaev, and wrestled, carried around the ring, kind of embarrassed. But I just think he's too durable. I know historically Ferguson's been durable, but I just think he gets hit with something, does a little bit of a chicken dance, and then
yeah.
maybe ends up getting beat up on the ground um, pretty brutally. 3 round fight, I will go decision out of respect for both fighters. Five
Mm-hmm.
round fight, I think Ferguson gets finished, but we're not doing that. So I think 3 round fight. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Leech uh, by decision win, pretty dominating.
So I put in my notes that I wanted to see the odds before I actual pick made a pick. Let me look at these odds, and of course they're not on here. And this was I was writing this up this afternoon, and for some reason the UFC website hasn't posted their DraftKings odds. So I'm sure if you looked on the your whatever sports book or on any app, the odds are up there. So it's still hard for me to make a pick. The only thing I have to say that I have in my notes is that I'm not ready to count Tony Ferguson out just yet. I mean, he's got a slight reach advantage here. I know the Leech has the power to put him away. I agree with you. You know, I agree with you 100% on the Gaethje effect and getting knocked out more so after the fact, especially with the Chandler finish. But he was winning that fight against Chandler until that foot hit his chin. So I mean, I think he had that first round. I mean, I thought we were seeing the Ferguson of old come back until that kick came and interrupted the whole thing. He looks
That's
like he's a
fair.
good.
That's you know.
Yeah, he looks like he's in good spirits this week. So I'm not going to count Tony Ferguson out just yet. So when I do look up the odds after this, I will probably wind up going with Tony Ferguson by decision. If I'm going to do like a prop bet, I would do.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing though. Like I don't necessarily think he's gonna look terrible. I just
Mm-hmm.
think that he just gets hit and all of a sudden it's like a switch changes and you all of a sudden are that guy who went through those wars and has
I
fought,
mean, yeah, I'm probably
30,
going to eat
30,
my
30
words
rounds.
too because I mean, not for nothing. How many fights as of late have we seen these staples of the UFC hang up their gloves or walk away? Luke Rockhold, I mean the whole we're gonna move on to the main event. I mean, this is almost it's like they're setting it up for Nate Diaz to just walk out of here. Doesn't look like any contract renewals in sight based on recent news. So Hamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. Um, apparently this is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I would like Nate Diaz to win. I mean,
Oh yeah. Um,
he's plus 700 underdog, which is kind of
yeah.
insulting.
I think it's a terrible fight. I didn't like this fight when it was initially like a mid card fight for like fight week when it was
Hmm.
kind of first rumored. Um, I think it's an insult to Nate Diaz. I think it's disrespectful from the UFC.
Hmm.
I think he and obviously he knows that his comments today were that he basically didn't even train. Go ahead, beat me. I just need to get the hell out of here.
Mm.
Essentially stuff like that. Probably even more colorful language, but um, I just I for
And
it's I
yeah.
just it bugs me. It bugs me that they do this to guys that have been like loyal
Hmm.
business people. Now, obviously, Diaz, they have their ups and downs as far as like where they are publicly, but they always show up to fight. They never
I
when they
mean,
do,
they
that's
the company's built on the blood, sweat, and bones of these guys like Nate Diaz and his brother. And it's almost like it's like, okay, you want we're gonna let you go, but we're gonna let you go in the worst way possible by putting you against. But the obviously, if you know anything about the Diaz brothers, I mean, I think people, especially the current new UFC fan, they're forgetting that these fucking guys they don't come to fuck around either. Like it's they're not gonna just lay down for anybody. So let's not act like Nate Diaz hasn't been dragged for a few rounds and pull something out towards the end that makes you question I mean, he even said in his ESPN interview with Brett Okamoto, he's like the guy. He's talking about Kamaru Usman got knocked out by a guy that I he said I whipped his ass, but he hurt him in the final rounds, but he went the distance and kind of he did better than Usman did. I mean, Usman didn't get knocked out, so let's not sleep on the durability of Nate Diaz. I mean, I would like Nate Diaz, excuse me. I would like him to win. I'd love it if he won, and this was his fight, and he gave the fingers up to the UFC and said, "Hey, come watch my real fight promotions and wherever that's going to air." But to quote Kevin Holland when they asked him about the main event, on paper, it's Chimaev's fight to win.
yeah. I mean, it's just you're taking a guy who has put up some of the best fights. Um, one of some of the most exciting pay per views in the history of the sport.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say I mean I like the Diaz brothers. I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
here and act like I've been some homer for them over the years
Hmm.
because it's not true.
Yeah.
I haven't always rooted for them in their fights, but lately I have because I like the older generation of these guys,
Hmm.
and they just keep coming to fight.
Yeah.
They're not out there. And that's the thing that kind of concerns me about this fight a little bit is because there's really no tomorrow. Um, he
Hmm.
doesn't. He doesn't there's no title fight at the end of this. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
so while I think he's gonna show up and when he's there, I think he's gonna go in there, a Diaz ready to
Yeah.
fight. I just go and you're putting him against the number one prospect in the history of this sport. Or
Hmm.
not in the history of the sport, currently in the sport.
Yeah.
The number one prospect, an undefeated fighter who
Hmm.
a lot of people thought should already be fighting for the title. Um, Against a guy who's won one fight in five years.
Mm.
So I just think that's kind of uh, weird or just disrespectful. I wonder how much interest Diaz is going to keep when he gets taken down for that second or third round in a row. If he's able to survive that long, is he going to get to a point where he's just going to kind of say "F it" and just knowing that there's not a title fight. There's not. I mean, he said today that the McGregor trilogy is a sure thing,
Mhm.
unless they're planning on doing something outside. Unless McGregor's planning on running his contract out, which God only knows how many fights he signed with the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where he sees that happening at. Short of it being maybe a boxing match outside the UFC or a or I don't know, but yeah, I think that Chimaev. I think
Yeah.
Chimaev beats him badly. and I actually
Mhm.
think he finishes him. I think the referee probably has to stop the fight.
Yes, I mean, just
Second,
to
second, early third round is kind of where I'm pinpointing.
yeah, I mean, I see a doctor stoppage coming for this reason that Kevin Nicholson just put it on our comments here. Diaz has so much facial scar tissue. I think he starts bleeding on the walk to the cage. I mean, he's joking about the walk to the cage, but I mean, we've already seen him. I mean, look at it when he fought for the BMF title in the Garden. That fight got stopped because of a very bad cut over his eye. And the other thing about that ESPN interview with Brett Okamoto, it looks like he has some very fresh scar tissue over his left eye, right here above the brow. That I feel like if that opens up and it drips into his eye, it's gonna get stopped. And you want it to get done. These
It
guys,
is it is Las Vegas though.
yeah,
So if he's ever going to get any rope with a cut in
mm.
New York, this fight would be over in 35 seconds. Or as Kevin says,
yeah,
probably the minute the bell rings because it'll already be
yeah,
gushing. But yeah, I but Diaz is there. I think his best chance to win. Well, see, we saw Chimaev get hit by Burns, but I
yeah.
just feel like I feel like Burns is just such more of a complete current prime fighter, and
Hmm.
I it bugs me we're not seeing Diaz versus Ferguson.
Yeah.
Like that's a fun fight that should have been the farewell fight, really for both of them.
I mean,
And
I kind of I would not have minded just for the entertainment value a Diaz McGregor 3 trilogy. I
that
feel like
too.
that
I'm
would have
just
been
talking about
better
who's on this card.
for them
The
all
fact,
financially. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Yeah. I mean, just overall, but
But
yeah.
the UFC couldn't risk that because if he beats McGregor, then he's a money king going to
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Wherever. Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
fight's like, uh, I mean, how many paper? I don't even know you're not. It's not necessarily your thing, but how many pay-per-view views? If an average UFC day gets, 350,000, and a McGregor one's getting 1.4 million,
Hmm.
how much does this get with this card?
I
I mean,
mean,
the tickets right now are there's you can buy there's a million tickets available.
yeah. Yeah. You never know, man. I mean, I always go by like how again Jacob's quote about the UFC stand. When I see them buzzing about stuff on Twitter, I see high numbers coming out of that because that's the current mind of the new the 2022 UFC fan. But look at Craig Sage kind of. I mean, if he does keep fighting, he says Nate should go to B. He probably would do well in BKFC, but then again, he gets cut easy. So
He gets cut easy, but
yeah,
BKFC lets the cuts go. Um,
yeah,
BKFC, I don't. I feel like Nate just needs to. I guess, but I think he's going to get the
Mhm.
Jake Paul. I mean, assuming that.
Mm.
Well, although now we
I
got Jake Paul and Anderson Silva, so Diaz might be. What'll end up happening is he'll end up signing back with the UFC, and we'll see him fight McGregor, and they'll act like none of this ever
Yeah,
happened.
it'll be like a Mayweather McGregor thing. I could definitely see that happening down the road, but I mean, I guess we're both going Chimaev here, right? By stoppage, some sort of stoppage.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going by, like I said, late second, early
Mm.
third round. If Diaz, there's I there's always been this talk about what if a fighter goes in there and just throws in the towel to
Mm.
basically give a big fu to the UFC. It's happened in boxing.
Yeah.
Um, never happened in the UFC where it was an intentional, other than early tournament days with Hoist Gracie and something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't see that happening, but it also wouldn't shock me if we saw something crazy like that. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think he can just throw in the towel from the bell. I think that would open up lawsuits. But that's where I wonder, like, does he just go out there? Does he just get taken down once, and does he just tap out
Oh,
and then
like
give a big
you think he's gonna do a Jeff Jarrett versus Hulk Hogan and whatever
more like that
WCW?
because he can't. I don't think he can not fight. I think if you don't
Mhm.
fight, I think the suspensions and everything.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Once that fight starts and he gets taken down, I think at any point he can basically give up at that point. And
Mm.
I mean, he could flick off the cameras, tap out, and walk out of that ring, not say a word to anybody. And I think they have
Yeah.
to pay him everything, and he gets to move on. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that.
He's
I'm
that's
glad I'm not going because if that
yeah.
happened, I don't know what my reaction would
I
be.
mean,
I don't
we'll
know.
see. We'll have to see on Saturday, but I mean, I would like the underdog to win. I mean,
Oh God, please!
yeah,
If he finished Chimaev, if he choked him out with a triangle, or if
yeah.
he knocked him out with a slap combination, put him down. it would be the most glorious moment in the
I'll throw
last,
myself right out the
10
window of my
years of the
apartment.
sport, you
Watch
know?
it, yeah.
Um, but I mean, I can't. I'm just curious if they give him a mic, win or lose. I'm curious what they allow him to say, what he does
He'll
during the.
get bleeped or muted. You know how they fucking do. I mean,
Yeah, I wonder if they
unfortunately,
give
they
him. I
always
wonder if they'll even give him a mic, or if they're just
yeah.
gonna cut the pay per view off and go, start running their
Yeah, we
closing scene.
who knows? It's it's all handled by Disney and ESPN now, so we'll have to see. But hey, it's something to look forward to this weekend, right? And I mean, I'm glad that we got back together. I have to if you don't mind wrapping us up, Matt, I gotta uh get back to this. I
Gotcha.
have to speak to another fighter.
Another
So
fighter.
yeah.
Always busy Ed. So fans can check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. And as mentioned earlier, you can always catch our podcast at allaccessmma.com. Check out allaccessmma.com for our video podcast, MMA news, and MMA stories. Ed, pay-per-view, BKFC, LFA on Friday. There's a bunch of fights. World is good. My house isn't 110 degrees, and hopefully it isn't next weekend either, or next week for our show. So appreciate the comments from Kevin and Craig this week. Appreciate the listens, and look forward to talking to you this weekend, Ed. Hopefully, we're both jumping out our windows sometime on. Well,
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
it'd be Sunday morning. For me, it'd be late Saturday night.
Yeah,
But
I hope you guys could pull it off. I would love it if you did. All right,
awesome.
guys.
Have a great night. Thanks for listening, everyone.